In this video, I will show you every step of this painting and I'll talk you through it as best as I can. You will also hear a mix of color theory as I explain the colors I'm using, as well as the story behind this painting. I have recently made a short asking what happiness is. I've asked myself several times this question, and at first, I was looking for happiness somewhere in the future, as what would make me happy? What do I need to be happy? I've soon realized that I was missing the present, and that the right question is, what brings me joy now? Right now, in this very moment. What do I have now that makes me happy? What am I doing now that makes me happy? So here I am, sharing with you a part of my happiness as I enjoy editing this video, and multiplying it because if this video helps you in any way, it would be another piece of joy that will come back to me. If you already are a subscriber, I'm so happy to have you back. And if you are new to my channel, I'm giving you a warm welcome and invite you to subscribe. Don't forget to also press the notification button, as this might help push this video out there to be seen by others. The reference I've used is a photo I have taken on one of our trips. We have discovered this charming little old town in Bulgaria called Nesevar, and I found it fascinating. I loved walking on the narrow stone-paved streets. It is so inspiring to see the architecture and to see artists drawing and painting on the side of the street or near the sea. I felt so much the urge to join them, but as it was a short trip, I chose to enjoy my husband's company and to be there for us. So when we came back home, I sat in my studio watching the photo and imagining I was there. I'm sitting at the corner of the street, amazed by the whole scenery. It is a warm, sunny day, and at the end of the street, just a little farther from the store, I can see the sea. I feel the light breeze and I can almost hear the waves. I'm interrupted for a second by the noise of seagulls on the roofs and realized that that's what was missing to complete the whole experience. I'm lowering my eyes and look at the door. I'm not curious to know what's behind it. I feel like I already know. I already know that it's a place where magic happens. I started with a pencil sketch and noticed that my pencil marks were so light, almost made out of fear. Fear that all the imperfections will show through the paint, like the messy leaves surrounding the door or the twisted strings and unfinished blanks. I've decided to embrace them and outline the whole sketch with a black pen. I'm adding a wash of medium yellow to bring the sun into my painting, and use a light violet to cool down a little bit the areas that are in the shadow, such as the area under the door and near the wall or under the leaves. A bluish green will make a great choice for the clear sky, and a perfect company for the less saturated deep green of the leaves. I load the brush with water and green dip to make a compact crown of leaves. For the door, I apply several layers of burnt umber and burnt sienna. Then, using the wet on wet technique, I load my brush with sepia and let it run in the watery surface. Using green dip on almost dried paper, I am making the leaves that are in the shadow, leaving space for those highlighted by the sun. I'm just touching the paper with the tip of the brush and leave darker marks. When the paper is almost dry, I add another layer of sepia and violet light to darken the door. Thank you for bearing my habit of rotating the paper while I paint. I can see now editing the video that it can be a little bit annoying. I make the color warmer where the sun touches the door by adding yellow dip and creating a lighter area. Painting the plants that grow near the wall make my scenery more vivid. And I paint them in the same manner as I did with the leaves, just by touching the paper with the tip of the brush. I add some red to make the terracotta bricks on the wall. Red light is a warm red, and layered on top of yellow dip, it gives it an orange tint. These bricks, mixed with stones, are like a symbol of this place. All the remains of the ancient city show them, and it is nice to see that the locals are keeping their properties in harmony with the town's architecture. Using the wet brush, I'm dragging the paint in the remaining white space, blending the areas into each other. Then I add another layer of paint in the space between the stones, mixing yellow with a very small amount of violet. The shadow under the door has really sharp edges. I return to it with a wet brush and blend it into the street's pavement. I use orange for the tiles on the top of the wall and drag it along the door to create the illusion of shadow. Orange is also a warm color, and it's fascinating how in this case it creates the illusion of a cooler space. You can create such effects by understanding the three key elements: hue, saturation, and value. In this case, we have two warm colors, yellow and orange, which is composed by red and yellow. In terms of hue, the dominant primary color in my orange is red, and it is practical to call it a red-orange to understand its place on the color wheel. Both red and yellow are at an equal distance from blue, so you can say that one is not colder than the other. So what gives the shadow effect? Let's look at the saturation and value of each color. We already have determined the hue by naming the colors, red, orange, and yellow. Looking at my orange, we can see that it is saturated and intense. This means that it is composed of a high amount of pure colors, while yellow lets the white of the paper show through, desaturating it and making it lighter. Light comes from above, so the part of the wall underneath the leaves is shadier. I'm using a yellow dip, which I mix with its complementary color, violet, to decrease its intensity and making it duller. It remains a light color in terms of value, but not as bright and intense. I don't mind covering the stems, as I will come back to them with another layer of paint to create contrast and volume and making them come out of the wall. I repeat the same process at all the parts of the wall that are not in direct sunlight. When the paper has dried a little, I come back with a brighter green to create more leaves. I intend to create a foliage texture, and I just touch the paper with the tip of the brush. I add a higher amount of green to the part of the foliage that I want to be darker. With the same green, I start to build the shape of the stems, making them stand out from the wall. It creates intense shadows and an earth tint, making them look more natural. When painting on cotton paper, a great part is that you can wash some of the paint whenever you need. I am doing this now, wetting the paper and wiping it with the tip of the clean brush to lift up some of the paint. If you need to remove more paint, you can gently rub the paper with a wet synthetic acrylic brush, and then lift as much paint as you can with a tissue, absorbing the water and pigment. You need to do this carefully. Good quality cotton paper behaves really well when loaded with water and brushed repeatedly. But if you press too hard, you risk ripping it and create unwanted texture. I add another layer of orange on the stems to make them more saturated and warmer, and then mix it with a little bit of violet to dull it. As I already said, the best thing about cotton paper is that it is so easy to make many layers of paint, and whenever you feel like, you can wet and lift most of the paint to create highlights. I use a small amount of violet for the space between the rocks on the part of the world that is brighter. And sepia for the part of the world that is in the shadow. This is perfect for the cast shadow near the stems and between the rocks. I come back to the foliage with more leaves, and with the brush loaded with green pigment I add some splatters. For some reason I find splattering so satisfying, and I love adding it as a final touch to my paintings. I use yellow dip to bring out the warm areas touched by the sun. This makes the pavement feel warmer and brighter. With the same yellow, I create highlights on the leaves, bringing the sun above the foliage. A few touches of intense violet makes the shadows in the foliage even darker. At this point, all I'm doing are some final details and adding what I feel needs to be added to create harmony in the painting. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you have enjoyed this video and I can't wait to see you in the next one. I wish you all a wonderful weekend.